Hello, everybody, and welcome back to One Hub Racing. We are here for round 9 in Saudi Arabia, and joined alongside me in the commentary box for the P3 tier is, of course, Colin. Welcome back, Colin. Missed you last week, but good to have you back in the comms box.
Yes, I unfortunately missed last week. I somehow managed to screw my back up. Still trying to work out how I managed it. But we're all good now and looking forward to tonight's race.
Yeah, it's going to be a cracker. We got weather to talk about. We got engine penalties to talk about. We'll run you through the standings. That's why we've started a little bit early here tonight as we wait for some of the drivers to join the lobby. But Colin, let's just quickly talk about last week in Mexico. Shelby taking his first win in One Hub after joining last season. A huge moment, which I'm sure you would have enjoyed. Well, you did watch, but enjoyed commentating on.
Oh, I was so pleased for him. He drove so well. Um, and one of the problems that Shelby's had has been collecting time penalties. And he's managed to stop that now. And he drove perfectly. And quite dominantly as well, which I was quite surprised with. No, and that's going to give him a lot of confidence. And I think he's going to be another force in this race as well.
Yeah, well, we've only actually had M125 who has won twice this season. Otherwise, we've had a different winner every single week. So M125 now leading the championship, which will come to the standings in a minute. But first of all, we are expecting a couple more, I think, tonight. And then, Colin, we are going to get underway. But the weather, we know that it's been announced on the league adaptive weather system that we are going to have a dry qualifying because we've used all the wet ones up earlier in the season, and we are going to have a dry race. So this track's going to be difficult enough in the dry. We know there's probably going to be safety cars, so probably drivers, do you think they'll be thankful that there's no raindrops in the air?
Oh, I think they're all going to be going, thank heavens for that. This track is incredibly difficult in the dry, never mind the wet. I think they're going to be so pleased that it's dry, especially the drivers who are going to be taking engine penalties because then they can utilize some DRS to do some overtaking.
Yeah, well, let's come to that next. Engine penalties. So, to remind everyone in One Hub Racing, all drivers have to take a new engine at some point during the season, as an engine won't last an entire 12-round season at One Hub. And when they do so, they have to start at the back of the field. And Colin, you're actually one of the drivers in the top tier who's taking their engine penalty tonight. But we have 5 of them, I believe, who are taking their engine penalties from P3 tonight. So just explain to us, first of all, what they'll be doing in qualifying, and second of all, why you think they might have chosen this track.
Well, like myself, this track is notorious for drivers touching walls, losing their front wings, making mistakes. So I think it's a sensible track to take your engine penalty at. Um, Also, maybe some of these drivers aren't very confident around here in one lap pace and think I'm probably going to be near the back anyway, so I may as well take it. So the drivers that are going to be taking their engine pens tonight is our championship leader M125 in the Haas, Jack and O-Dog, the two Alfa Romeo drivers, both taking their engine penalties here. Dr. Mew in the Alfa Tauri, and Cowboy in the other Haas is also taking his grid penalty. So with them starting at the back, you would have thought that Red Bull are going to be really trying to push some big points to get a little bit closer in the constructors.
Yeah, definitely. You're going to have to, particularly for someone like M125 who's leading the championship, he's going to need to carefully fight his way through the field. And his teammate Cowboy. Yeah, interesting that there's both teams, two of their drivers are taking it at the same track. Lots of interesting decisions in terms of engine penalties across all the tiers. So yeah, let's find out how things go as we head into Saudi Arabia. Anything can happen with the walls and the high speeds.
Oh, this is I can see this being absolute pandemonium. It's such a difficult track. I mean, I don't think I've done a race distance yet without losing my front wing somewhere. I know even, there's been quite a few DNFs when we've been practicing as well amongst the admin team. So, and we're experienced league racers as well. You've got, inexperienced guys racing here tonight in P3. So, yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be very interesting. This race is not about how quick you are. This is, can you avoid the walls and can you be consistent?
Yeah, I think it's really important to have a car that's comfortable underneath you as well, so that no one's going to be driving 100% around here. You can't push every lap, particularly as the tires start to wear down. Corner cuttings and the track extensions are going to come into play. Yeah, so there's going to be lots of variables, and I think that's why some of the drivers have chosen to do their engine penalties tonight.
Yeah, I think it makes perfect sense. I mean, we haven't actually got that many races left as well, but I can see why so many of them have decided to take it here. So while we're waiting for the drivers to get their setups loaded and the lobby to start for qualifying, I'll go through the standings. So our current championship leader on 142 points is M125, who will be taking his engine pen and starting near the back. Papa Squanch in second place on 129. So very, very close to M125. Now, this is where it gets incredibly interesting. So you got Jamie in third on 89 points, Whopping Proverb fourth on 81, Hooky in fifth on 80, Jess in sixth on 75, Shelby on 73, and Rageman on 69. And with Matthias only a couple of points back on 67. So the fight for that third place is basically between 6, 7, 8 drivers almost. So it's going to be really, really tight. Unfortunately, we do know that Jamie is having to miss a race, so that's not going to help his cause. So he's going to be really trying to get some good points in these next couple of races. The manufacturers, if I just load that up, so Haas are in the lead on 204 points. Red Bull second on 164, and McLaren third on 150 points. So Haas have got a good lead at the minute, but can't afford any mistakes.
Yeah, and let's just quickly talk about a new driver that we have joining us for this week, Colin. Evil Dragon, so returning to the league after a couple of seasons out. So you'll see him in the Mercedes. Anthony has left the league. So he'll be hoping that he can help Papa bring Mercedes into that fight for the Constructors' Championship.
Yes, very, very pleased to see Evil Dragon back at One Hub. Actually made my commentary debut in One Hub with Evil Dragon, so it's going to be quite nice to commentate on him this evening.
Yes, and apologies if my mic is a little crackly. I just restarted my headset, so hopefully that'll have a positive effect. If not, I will have to try and disconnect it from the PlayStation and reconnect it. But lots of drivers out on track already, Colin. Just a reminder, you will see 5 of them only come out to complete an outlap before they come into the pits and retire and become a spectator like us. So, soft tyres, you'd expect them obviously to be the quickest compound throughout the qualifying and the race. Evil Dragon currently out on the mediums, M125 and Cowboy out on the hards, both of whom are taking engine penalties, so they're just going to do an outlap. Make sure their setup's all nice and loaded. And let's talk about setup, Colin. You need a mixture here. You need to feel confident of the high-speed section of Sector 1, but you need some good straight line speed in the final half of the lap. Really long straights, 3 DRS zones, plenty of chances to get some overtaking done.
Yeah, it's you. Like you said, you gotta be wary that you don't have too much downforce on, because obviously it's a very fast circuit. But you've got some very high downforce required corners, very fast corners. So you do need to have, of quite a solid front end. So they've really got to find a good balance. I think you might find, the likes of M125 and Cowboy, the guys that are taking their engine pens, they might tend to go a little bit lower on the rings. Now, we know, looking at last week around Mexico, that M125 likes to use the very low downforce setting. He was like a rocket ship down the straight. Not so good in the corners, obviously. So I suspect M125 will go for the lower downforce setting, I think.
Yeah, he was absolutely rapid last week. There was almost no stopping him in a straight line. And yeah, even the drivers in the wet really struggled to get past the Haas driver because his straight line speed was, pretty quick, pretty slippy, shall we say. Felix, by the way, we practiced with him earlier. He had some good pace around here, Colin.
Yeah, I was very, very surprised about his pace. I know he loves this track. It's a favourite of his, and I think he's going to be one to contend tonight, I think.
Well, as we get a few lap times up on the board, the man we were just talking about does indeed go quicker. So the 128.0 Hookie and the other Ferrari, JR Mason in second and third at the moment. Who else is on a hot lap? We've got Provard, who's coming around the final corner round, nice and tidy there, third gear up into fourth really quickly. DRS open as he heads towards the line. What's he going to do? A 128.9. Marcy pops in with a 130.3, which has just been beaten by Ghost. So I do also think, Colin, that this is one of those tracks that, being out towards the end of the session, can gain you a bit of time as Popper nails in a 27.9.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the tracks that rubbers in more than others, I think. So I expect a lot of the drivers are going to go right to the end before they go out on their final run. But that's a great lap from Papa Squanch to get in the 27s. That really is really putting a marker down for the other drivers. He's had a few inconsistent results the last couple of races. He hasn't had the best of times. 7th last week. He did have a couple of podiums. Round 5 only 10th. So he's going to be looking now to be gaining a good lump of points now with M125 taking his engine penalty.
Yeah, I think that Matthias is a man as well who's shown that he can be right up there, but inconsistent results last time out. Caused a bit of an incident, I think, into the first corner, involved multiple cars. So I think if he can keep it clean, he's also one to watch. And of course, he did get pole around Miami, which was one of the other street tracks featured in season 24. Of course, we've got Baku next week, and we have a sprint race. So that is something to look forward to, followed by Canada and then Abu Dhabi. And we know that all the wet qualifyings have been used on the adaptive weather system, but we know that there's one rain session to do in the race. So where will that fall? Will it fall on Abu Dhabi? Will it fall on Canada? Will it fall on Baku? We will have to wait and see. And apologies, not next week, because next week's Easter, so I'll get the break week correct this time. Next week is Easter, so we are not racing next Sunday. And then we will be back the week after for the final 3 races of the season, Colin. And both championships still up for grabs. Haas are extending their lead in the constructors, but as we said, they're both starting from the back tonight, so they're going to need to try and work their way through without losing too much. Matthias up into 8th position. I think some of these drivers might have invalidated, unless they're just fancy going out slightly later. Do you think any of them will save a set of softs for the race, Colin? The softs don't really last too long here in race conditions with heavy fuel.
No. I don't think you'll see the softs into play that much. As I was just being on board then with Evil Dragon, and the curb in sector 1 which if you ride it, I'm not sure what corner it is. I think it's corner 7, turn 7. You ride that, and you just basically bottom the car out, and you go straight on. And that's exactly what Evil Dragon has done. But a 28.9 on the medium set of tyres is quite a handy lap.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think that tyre temperature, getting some good tyre temperature in those mediums, they're not a bad tyre at all in the race. Showing that they've got some good one-lap pace here in qualifying as well. So we're expecting to see, as we said, high-speed track, lots of incidents perhaps, which will bring out some safety cars, some virtual safety cars. So strategy is going to be really interesting here. Obviously, hard compound tyres also available, although I don't think we'll see them too much in this session. Fozzie is about to cross the line now. Rageman is also on a quick lap. Jess is just starting her latest lap. So Fozzie pops it up behind his teammate with a 29.6. What's Rageman going to be able to do in this final sector that he's in now? Throwing your car into that high-speed left-hander and then making sure that you're lining up this braking zone, heaviest braking zone. Takes it nice and tight, actually. Cuts in tight, gets on the power nice and early. As he heads to the line, he comes into the pits, so perhaps he got invalidated.
I don't think he did, actually. I just think he... strange not to at least get your banker in, if not only for your Delta. But maybe he thought it wasn't a very good lap, so he's going to save his set of softs. Jamie now has actually come in the pits as well, so I don't know whether he has invalidated his lap as well. I saw that he was on an out lap, and he's back in the pits. I don't know whether he damaged his front wing on his out lap, but with 8 minutes left, putting a little pressure on him, on the Red Bull and McLaren driver.
Jess pumps it up into 5th position, and look at the lap time between her and John. We always say how close they are in terms of pace and often find each other on track. Well, would you look at that? Look at the lap time between the two of them. Nothing between them on this circuit. So I think what'll be interesting as well, Colin, is we're gonna see who's gone for slightly higher wings. As Felix goes quickest now with a 27.806, a very decent lap time from the AlphaTauri driver. But we're going to see who's running some slightly higher wings by the first sector time, and then in the final sector, we're going to see who absolutely bullets down the straight. We know from practice that Hooky was toying with some really low wings. How will that affect things?
Yeah, we know that Hooky tends to go for higher downforce setups. From what we've seen this season, we know M125 tends to go for the lower setups, lower downforce settings. So it is going to be very, very interesting. I'm very impressed actually with that lap from Felix. That's a great lap. So if we look at the championship standings and see where is Felix sitting. So if I can find Felix. Yeah, so he's actually only scored 7 points. So his best result was actually last week in Mexico of a 10th place. So to put it on provisional pole, yeah, he's going to be delighted with that. That's a really great lap.
JR Mason's on a lap in the Ferrari. Haven't seen too many laps from drivers actually, so perhaps they're saving a set of softs for the race. JR Mason nicely exits the final corner. Is he going to abandon it? Coming to pit stop. So timing to together of it. Quite a few drivers. I think also this pit lane entry is a bit tricky, Colin. I think we're going to see some speeding in the pit lane as Proverb also comes in, hot on his heels. Evil Dragon's up in sector 1. Close to the wall, he touched the wall there. He rubs with the outside of the tyre, which you can get away with. He backs out of this one.
Yeah, you can see the map's gone red, so he's invalidated that lap. But this is... Yeah, I don't know whether this is out lap. No, I don't think... I'm not sure. But this is the thing with this track. It's so easy to invalidate, and even easier just to touch the wall. And because the corners are so fast, chances are you are going to damage your front wing as well. So it's such a difficult track for these drivers. You know, it's going to be, it's basically a race for survival.
Matthias on a hot lap here as he comes through. Oh, very close to the wall, goes slightly over the curb. Let's follow him through, right on board through this high speed of sector 1, sorry. But this section here particularly, really important to choose your line and get it right so you can maximise the exit as you head down to the banked corner. So nice and late on the brakes, carry as much speed through as you can. Be careful when you get on the power, you don't want the rear to start sliding and not be happy. And then up to the next high speed corner where you want to get as close to the walls as you can, which Matthias did there. That was impressive. Gets nicely on the exit. This is going to be a decent lap, I think, here, Colin.
Yeah, he was 4/10 up in the first sector. On this second sector, looks absolutely perfect. Look how close he is to the wall. That's exactly where you want to put the car. This is looking like a tremendous lap from Matthias. So as he's heading down now into the last corner, pick your braking point. He's really good on the apex there. Good exit as well. So he's heading down now. Shortest route to the line, and it's going to be a 28 flat. A great lap from Matthias there. So that puts him up in the P3. What a great lap.
Yes, very impressive. He was really close to the walls there, and that's what you got to do in qualifying. You got to maximise the track, carry as much speed through those high-speed corners as you can. Lots of drivers now on outlaps. Evil Dragon is coming through the final corner, but he's down. He's flashing low on air, so expect him to come into the pits as we got 3 minutes remaining. He'll struggle to get out in time. Ghost also up by a second this lap, so let's follow on with the Alpine driver as he comes round the final corner, focuses on his exit, touches the wall. Don't know if that'll give him damage. He might be alright as he crosses the line. It's a 28.4, so lap time's coming in thick and fast now. Felix is on a hot lap, I think. Yep, so Felix is on a hot lap, so let's see what he can do. Matthias is on a cool down lap. Ghost obviously just completed his. JR Mason starting a lap now as well, very close to the left hand side wall in the exit of turn 2 there as he comes through to start the high speed section. Prologue also starting just behind the Ferrari man. Jamie Rageman need to get a lap time in. They're going to have one shot to do this. Jamie's on a second out lap, I believe.
Yeah, it does look that way. I was on board him briefly, and he was using his in hot lap mode, so I was assuming that he was setting a lap, unless he's invalidated or damaged his front wing. Unfortunately, we don't know the fuel levels. He's just moving out of the way now for the McLaren, sensibly off the line. But he is putting himself under pressure.
Evil Dragon's just exiting the pits. He's going to have to do a qualifying lap to be able to even do another lap.
So he's putting himself under pressure here. The Mercedes driver. He's going to have to get it, isn't he? Because he hasn't got a lot of time left. Like you said, he's going to have to do 2 quality laps, really.
JR Mason improves, Colt, 2.5 tenths quicker. That's up into 4th position ahead of Ghost. So that's his session done. I imagine he'll be quite happy with that lap. Ahead of his teammate at the moment, who's just starting his final lap. Felix, by the way, just crossed the line, wasn't able to improve. But is he going for a second run? Did he do a second out lap like we think Jamie has done? So where's Jamie's... Oh, what's happened to Jamie? Jamie's in the wall!
Oh! And that is the end of Jamie's session. No front wing. So Jamie's going to start. He has completed a lap, so he will start ahead of the drivers who are taking their engine penalties. But he would have been hoping for far better position than 13th on the grid. He was saying only a couple of days ago how important qualifying is for him at this circuit, and he's not going to be very happy with that, unfortunately. He's going to have to just do a reset now.
Fozzie's half a second up, by the way, on his latest lap. Let's go on board. He crosses the line 29.0. Evil Dragon did get time to start a lap. He'll be the last person to cross the line. Jess is a 10th up through Sector 1, so some work to do for her. Hookie's 2.5 tenths quicker through Sector 2. So what can he do? He's getting a little bit of slip tune there from his teammate. Great work from the Ferrari boys. As he comes through the final corner now, gets a brilliant exit. Green flag is flashing. He hasn't kept it over to the left, but he moves that way now. What's it going to be? A 28.2. So that must be... came up on my screen as a 28.2, but now it's showing a 28.6.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. I wonder whether he invalidated
Hopper's up
that
as well.
Now this is going to be interesting. So he's got a 10th. He's 0.178 up, which is just enough. If he can negotiate that last corner, he does seem to do it. Now this will test his straight line speed now compared to second. Oh,
look at the gap. Evil Dragon, by the way, 6 tenths up on this latest lap. So what can he do? He touches the wall. I don't know if he will have scrubbed that much speed there on exit. Has it affected him? Has it cost him? He crosses the line. Does improve by only 2 tenths up to 8th position. That is your qualifying done. But congratulations to Felix on your first pole position here at One Hub Racing. What a lap. And you were able to just finish ahead. But the front row, Colin, separated by what, 300,000? No,
3 thousandths of a second. Look at that. That's astonishing. So we got Felix on pole, Papa Squanch in second, Matthias, another great qualifying, in third, Mason, fourth. That is, I'm certain that's his best qualifying of the season. That's a great performance. Fifth is Ghost. Hookie in 6th. I think you'd be disappointed with that. Jess in 7th. I think she'd be delighted with that. Evil Dragon 8th. A great qualifying on his return. Whopping Proverb in 9th. Then we have Fozzie, Rageman, Marcy, Jamie, who is the last of the qualifiers, excluding the engine pen drivers of Dr. Mew, M125, Cowboy, Shelby, and Jack. So the big losers from that, really, are Rageman and Jamie. So they've got a lot of work to do. Now, they've just got to remember that you can't win the race on the first corner, but you sure can lose it.
Yeah, there's going to be lots of action. You see the front wings in the pit lane on your screen now. How many of those will be used tonight? We will have to wait and see. And, of course, expect to see some double stacking as well. The pit lane isn't too much of a loss here as you actually skip turn 1, but the undercut, Colin, is worth at least 2 to 3 seconds, I'd say, if you can do it without making any mistakes. But traffic obviously could play a part in that as well. But whilst the drivers are sitting on their grids, selecting their strategy, making any last adjustments to their tyre pressures, their differential, and their front wing, let's just run you through our sponsors, because we wouldn't be able to offer what we do without their amazing support. So, Next Level Racing, our main sponsor, and they've been offering us championships prizes since season 13. So big thanks to them for their support. Vespertine, of course, you can go and buy our merchandise through their stores. Pure Sim Gear provide sim racing socks or gloves. Colin, I know you race with some gloves on. If you want to grab yourself any of those, then feel free to head over to Pure Sim Gear. ERT sponsor our trophies and medals, so big thanks to their continued support. We'd be able to send out all those trophies without them. SimGrid, who we run our championship through, and of course Assetec Sim Sports, who provide prizes and merchandise. Final thoughts, Colin, before the red lights?
Well, I think all those front wings that are sitting in the pit lane, I think a lot of them are going to be used. I think it's going to be very interesting. Felix, I mean, that pole came out of nowhere, really. What a brilliant lap that is. But doing one quick lap is a lot different to doing it lap after lap after lap without hitting the wall around here. So it's going to be interesting. I suspect you'll see most drivers start on the softs. in anticipation for an early safety car. But we will have to wait and see. So, like Nick said, this is the stage now that they might do some tweaking of tyre pressures, differentials maybe, might alter their front wing a little more for their race setup. And the lights are on and away.